Oh yeah, Cashapp. Oh yeah, Cashapp.
Good morning. A couple things, people. We have to talk about something that should be obvious to the populace. Unfortunately, it's not. Audio is good. Shout out to everybody joining in conversation. I want this to be open forum conversation. This will be somewhat of a live Q&A, but I will be doing a reaction to two videos, one by Jordan Peterson, one by Joe Rogan, and Jordan Peterson. I need to ground myself. You understand? Take a second to ground my chakras, what have you. Technology, it's a sore It's a pain in the ass. But yeah, a couple things. First, we need to define happiness as best we can. There's a poll taken, and it will be discussed in the Joe Rogan video. 67% of people reported being unhappy. Now, there are many ways to arrive at this conclusion, and I'm not sure it's purely quantifiable because obviously happiness is a quality of life. It's not quantity. It's not a number. It's not something that you're able to measure using the imperial system or metric system. You can't measure it, but you know when it's missing. You know when it's missing. So, of course, as I'm known to do, the first definition that popped up in Google, the state of being happy is the definition given. Circular reasoning. So we're not going to go with that. So I scrolled down a little bit, and the question was asked, what is the true meaning of happiness? And the result was, happiness is an emotional state characterized by feelings of joy, satisfaction, contentment, and fulfillment. While happiness has many different definitions, it's often described as involving positive emotions and life satisfaction. Again, this sounds subjective. It sounds like it's fleeting. It sounds like it's up and down, kind of like the tides, if you will. It's never going to be, it's like the river. It's constantly moving. You're never in a current state of just nothingness or stillness. There's always something to jar your emotions, to jar your senses, and to allow you to respond or react. So we're going to get into these videos. We're going to start with Jordan Peterson's video. He obviously takes the deep route and tries to define our or the life particles and the molecules, and he goes immediately to the deep end, whereas Joe Rogan kind of just talks to the person. He talks to the individual that he's interviewing. It's quality content. It's quality content, and this is something that why not discuss on a Monday morning? Why not discuss happiness? I'm currently not at work again. I work this afternoon, but I'll be going to the gym to work out, and that's my job for today. So. Yeah, I'm happy to not be at work. I'm happy to, on a Sunday night, not experience dread of, bro, I got to go back to that damn office. I love Sunday nights now because we go fishing, we go on a boat, we have a couple drinks, we enjoy ourselves. But the fact that I don't have to go to a place I hate speaks volumes. And of course, it correlates directly to my happiness. And I wouldn't say that I'm exactly happy. And I will answer more about my personal situation as the videos, go on. But yeah, I can say that the fact that at 11:20, when I'll probably be thinking about lunch, but not going to lunch yet, I'm glad, I'm grateful that I can be on YouTube, instead of at work. So let's get into these videos. And these should be interesting. Let's see how this goes. We hope that the gods will allow us a smooth reaction, if you will. But let's get into this.
I was on 2 weeks ago, and we had a great conversation about happiness and the nature of happiness. And the guest before Jimmy Carr wrote in my diary, which is a tradition we have now, where all the guests that come on write a question for the next guest. So there is a question in there for you. But the guest wrote a question which changed his life, which is, are you happy? And from reading your work and understanding your position on happiness and it not being the thing to aim for, which really struck me, because I thought, I thought life was the North Star of our lives was to try and be happy. I guess my question is, what I was going to ask you that question.
Aim to be good and pray for happiness.
So the question.
Oh, look at that focus pool! I see you.
For me to ask you if I'm checking in on you, because we ask
quality
that question
content
with good intentions. Are you happy? What's a better question for me to ask Jordan Peterson?
How are you doing?
How are you doing? How are you doing?
Let's pause there. Get in the habit of asking the question of how someone is doing, and then waiting for the answer, as this gentleman so eloquently did or proceeded to do. I'm always a fan of people that ask a question and then stop to wait for the answer. Get in the habit of doing that. You may not have time, then don't answer the question. But if you're going to ask someone a question of how are you, I like how Jordan Peterson pauses. You'd be amazed how maybe somebody's been waiting for weeks for someone to simply ask them a question and then wait for them to answer. Let's continue.
Brilliantly and terribly. That's when you listen to a profound piece of music, one that sort of spans the whole emotional experience, It's not happy.
Talk to
Happy is elevator music, and probably you just shouldn't listen to that at all, right? And you think, why? Well, it's harmless, it's treacly, it's sweet, simple, it lacks depth, it's shallow. That's a problem. It doesn't have that deep sense of awe and horror, I would say, that is characteristic of the best of all music. You know, you listen to some simple music, so-called. Hank Williams is a good example. You know, the blues
Composer.
cowboy from the 50s who died of alcoholism when he was 27 and whose voice sounds like an 80-year-old man.
Exactly.
Simple melody, but there's nothing simple in the song and in the voice. It's deep, it's like the blues. It's like black blues in the States from the 20s, and it was certainly influenced by that tradition. There's this admission of a deep suffering at the same time as you get the beautiful transcendence of the music. And that's meaning, that's awful in the most fundamental sense, but you need an antidote to suffering, and it has to be deep. And deep moves you tectonically, and it's not a trivial thing.
Deep moves you tectonically. Good Lord. This man's articulation is just to point out a couple things that he's already alluded to. Just shining a little light on it. The need for suffering. When I debate atheists, and when I just have kind and friendly discussions with atheists concerning suffering, why in the world, if there's a loving God out there, all powerful God, why in the world would He allow us to suffer like so? Why would there be starving children, starving families? Why would why would there be murder, Holocaust, genocide, wars? Why would He allow that if He's a loving and all powerful, all knowing, ever present God? Why would that be His will? Why would He allow that? And of course, it's a simple answer, and yet a lot of people they miss it. In order to have love, in order to have the good things that we aspire to have, the things that we're inspired by, in order to have music, in order to have love, affection, you have to have an opposing side. You have to have free will. You have to have choice. The first thing instituted in terms of rules of engagement in the Garden of Eden, whether or not you believe in the Bible, look at the parable. Look at the parable. Don't get lost in the details. Look at the parable. The garden, God implemented the tree of knowledge, good and evil. Not because they needed more fruit, not because they needed more vegetables, not because they're vegan, but because He had to give them free will in order to share a love with them. Love is based on free will. If you don't have the choice to love someone, it's not love. If one person loves you and if you don't love them or you don't know they exist, it's not love. It's something else. It's stalking or something. It's not love. So in order to have love, you have to have free will. In order to have love, you have to have pain. Because if there's nothing to compare it to, then we're just programs. My computer loves me. It's faithful. It's loyal. It's never left me. It's never betrayed me. It's my computer. My computer is in love with me. But there's also no choice in the matter. This computer bears my name in every sense. It's just everywhere. This computer goes where I go. It's never left my side. It loves me. It's also programmed to do so. It does whatever I tell it to do. It's not by choice. It's not by, my loving devotion to Ray. No, it's a computer that's programmed to do one specific thing or a set of a few things very well and nothing else. This computer probably knows the sites I probably visit the most, but it couldn't tell me the next site I'm going to. It couldn't tell me my favorite site. It just tells me my most frequent site based on history. It's limited based on its programming. So if humans were programmed like a computer was, we could not love anyone. If there was no sense of betrayal, if there was no opportunity for betrayal or pain or cheating or breaking of trust, hurting someone, the opposite of vulnerability, if there was no opportunity to do all those things, we could not experience what is love. And of course, you hear a ton of rhetoric concerning unconditional love. I don't believe in unconditional love. I don't think it's possible in humans. I don't think it's probable in humans. it doesn't make sense. I think dogs might love unconditionally, but even they have a point of no return. Where you see it on all these documentaries where a dog is like, it's afraid of humans. It's in the corners peeing on itself. It's backing away into corners, like it's barking. It's baring its teeth because that dog has been hurt beyond a certain point, and then it takes time to heal that dog's mind so they can say, all right, this person is not trying to hurt me. I can trust this person. I can let them pet me. So even dogs have a sense of, once you cross a certain line with me, now I got to defend myself. It takes a minute for dogs. It takes a long minute. Cats might, you cross the cat the first time, they done. Humans, you see humans all over the place with, I'm cold-hearted, I match energy. If you cross me, if you mess, you ruin my peace, protect your peace, guard all this rhetoric concerning people that have been hurt and have not done the work to heal. And then they go to the next relationship, attempting to heal the last hurt in this current relationship. I'm like, you're going to fail continuously. And of course, toxic people blame their ex and call them toxic. You've never heard a toxic person refer to themselves as toxic. It's always a toxic person that calls their ex toxic. They haven't done the work. They haven't healed. And you're not going to heal yourself. You don't see surgeons doing surgery on themselves. The best surgeon in the world has to go to another surgeon to get surgery work. So what makes us think as humans, just the level of arrogance that we could fix ourselves? No, you can't. You can't. So you need suffering, you need pain in this world so you can experience the opposite side. That's how that works. Let's keep going. I'm not going to touch on the music piece because I think he eloquently articulated his point there. But music is powerful. Music is powerful, and of course, don't get lost in the details. But there's correlation. It's correlation.
But that's better than happiness. And maybe if you're lucky while you're pursuing that and while you're immersed in it, you get to be happy, and you should fall on your knees and be grateful for that when it happens. It's a gift. It really is a gift. And it comes upon you unexpectedly, your happiness, But you aim to climb uphill to the highest peak you can possibly envision.
I disagree where he says happiness, it kind of happens to you and you're just surprised by it. You can't control it. That's where vices come in. Vices is probably the closest or the easiest way to access happiness temporarily. You get a little taste of it. You can abuse it. Kind of like drugs. You never experience that first high. But food is one of those, I'm telling you, food being my vice, junk food being my vice, it's one of the easiest ways for me to be happy in a moment. My life could be crumbling. But if your boy run through that Popeyes drive-thru, bruh, if I say, bruh, listen to me right now, this is serious. I need 2 biscuits ASAP. I ain't talked about the main course yet. On my side, bruh, I need 2 biscuits. You understand? I'm going to go through McDonald's drive-thru. I'm going to run up a check on the pies, bruh. Like, let me get those. I'm going to stop by Walgreens, bruh. I'm going to eat the latest ranch spicy Doritos. You understand? You understand me, bruh. I'm gonna run through Little Caesars. I need a hot and ready. Do it now. Give me the hot and ready. Give me the Italian cheese bread if you don't got the hot and ready. And hurry up, bruh. You taking your time. Stop by the gas station, bruh. Let me get them hot tamales, bruh. Let me get them Mike and Ike's. Sweetest fish, circus peanuts, candy corn. Give me all of it. I'm not here to choose. Not in 2022. Give me all of it at the same time and hurry up, bruh. I'm going to take all that food to the bed and create crumbs, you understand? Crumbs, you hear me? I'm going to turn on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or 30 Rock or The Office. I'm going to close my blinds. I'm going to dim the lights. I'm going to turn the AC as low as possible. I'm going to get up under the blankets, you hear me? And I'm going to reach down in the jelly bean bag and hope it's not a black one. And I'm going to break bread until 12 midnight. And after I finish my last bite and I wake up in the morning, I'm going to feel guilty about what I just did. But in that moment, in that span of 4, 5, 6 hours, it's going to be the most glorious part of my day. And then you deal with aftermath. You deal with the weight gain. You deal with the, insulin insensitivity. You deal with the aftermath, the consequences. But of course, we all yearn to be happy in a given moment. And if we can control it, we will. And that's where we get vices from. You have people with anxiety and all they know to do is grab weed. Like, bruh, I have to have this fix, bruh. Some people, it's heavier than that. Some people, they eat heroin or coke or, God knows, fentanyl. Some people, sex. toxic sex. Sometimes they have to pick the most toxic person they can find in their roster. I'm like, yo, come through. I know you got a couple kids, one on the way. I know you got the STD, but listen, come through real quick. That's where vices come from. So I do believe that you're able to access happiness in a shortcut way or in a short-term manner. But in terms of long-term happiness, I don't think it's meant to be long-term because therefore it would lose its value. Just like pain is not supposed to last an entire lifetime. It's supposed to come in a certain moment to keep you alive. That's the purpose of pain, is to keep you alive. So in rant, we'll get back to the video. But yeah, happiness can be accessed temporarily and for short-term purposes, although it may be accompanied by, consequences we may not desire.
And that's better than happiness.
Why did you include terribly?
Well, for example,
Note on the follow-up question, a quality follow-up question. He could have easily ranted. He asked a follow-up question. Take note of that.
Example, now when I go wherever I go in the world, people come up to me and they're usually, I wouldn't say they're happy to see me. They're often in tears, and they often have a pretty rough story to relate. They were suicidal or nihilistic or homicidal or trapped, desperate, and they tell me that real fast. And then they say, I've overcome that to a large degree, and thank you for that. And you think, well, that's really something to have that happen over and over. In some ways, you might think, well, how could anything better possibly happen to you than to have people come up to you all over the world, strangers, and open themselves up like that, like they're old friends so quickly. But at the same time, it's an awful thing because you see, even in the revelation of their triumph, the initial depth of their despair. So I wouldn't change that.
Bless them.
But it's not nothing.
Bless them.
It's certainly not just happiness. It's better than happiness, but it's almost unbearable.
The question of, are men allowed to cry? I feel like there should be some, highlighting of that. I like the way Jordan Peterson cries. It's probably the most manly crying possible. And of course, it takes place during, deeply philosophical questions. Last time I saw him cry, it was like, do you believe in God? And of course, the average person, I don't think, would be moved to tears in that single moment of, do you believe in God? And oh my God, the tears are flowing. But I like the way he cries. There's a lot of talk of like whether or not men are shamed for being too emotionally, inclined. Like you look at Tyrese or Will Smith, and like when they're being vulnerable on camera, they become memes, and people running through the glass. And I'm like, listen, you can't do that. And I agree, because the way they cry, it's typically for attention. Jordan Peterson is moved organically, like you see how he's moved to tears in a single moment. And of course, actors are able to do this, but just I don't know. I like the way he cries, but. You can see how the talk of happiness and lack thereof, or I prefer it to happen more often. It's real. And someone who is analytical and deeply, I don't know. I'm not going to try and match his articulation, but I appreciate the way he cries, the way he expresses emotion. Let's continue. By the way, shout out to Alicia for mentioning the small little echo. If there's anything off with the audio, feel free to chat, and I will definitely do my best to adjust. I had the settings on 10, so we'll see. But shout out to Alicia for the notification. It's a dope
God,
set.
tears again. It's been quite 2 weeks in the UK. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. Such a great country, this country. Such a profound place. And it was so wonderful to see Cambridge and Oxford and to be welcomed by the students. And
I saw the queues around the block and the reaction you got. I watched the talk in Cambridge, and it was so wonderful to see, because I know that you don't do what you do for credit. That kind of seems to be the antithesis of pursuing your truth and doing it in the cause
need
of
to
truth.
accent.
But it was so wonderful to see
start
someone
working
that
on
I
that.
know has had such a profound impact on so many be received in such a way. We have a closing tradition.
Okay.
One of the, I don't normally do this, but one of the really great CEOs in our country, a young guy, built a multi-billion-dollar company, really great guy, sat here yesterday and I actually told him for the first time who he's writing the question for. And I couldn't believe his face. Oh my God, that's the one person I want to have dinner with. This is probably the most successful young person in our country. And so he knew who he was writing the question for. So the question that the previous guest wrote is, why do you do what you do?
See what will happen. Some programs you cannot predict, right? You cannot predict.
Before he goes into this explanation, just to highlight the humility in that answer, Jordan Peterson being who he is, 4 million at least on YouTube, on his clip channel, I believe it was like 500,000, even more copies of his book sold. And yet the humility of his answer of, I don't know what's going to happen. So I do what I do to kind of see what happens. And you'll hear more of that in his explanation.
How they're going to end. You have to run them. Well, I believe that truth will save the world. I believe that. So you speak truthfully and you watch what happens and you take your consequences, and maybe you hope and have some faith that in the final analysis, things will work out in your favor, but perhaps they will and perhaps they won't. But that's faith, eh? That's faith. Faith isn't believing in things you regard as ridiculous, sacrificing your intellect. It's a decision. Will truth, beauty, and love save the world?
I do like how you define faith because it's, for the first time, it's accurate. Faith is not blind. It's based on evidence. It's based on evidence. I believe based on evidence that the following is true. I believe based on evidence that God exists. I believe based on evidence that my woman loves me. It has nothing to do with just because something is there, I follow it blind. And is there aliens? I believe. Well, what evidence is there that aliens exist? For what? There has to be evidence, and there might be correlating evidence, but often we look for causation and like, what caused this to be there? What happens? What caused this to be, practical or in existence currently? But often, and in most cases, faith should be based on what is evident. Evident.
Well, you can find out.
Cool. We're gonna go to the next video, and the next one's by Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is one of those interesting individuals. I don't watch him often because I often get tired of his rhetoric. I'll listen to him like interview a doctor, and then he'll start chiming in as if they're peers. I'm like, no, you're the interviewer, so you should be asking questions, follow-up questions, insert a normal question or regular question, leading question, but questions, because you're talking to someone who's qualified in their field. Not that they can't be wrong, but if you disagree with them, ask them a question. Your assertion is almost worthless if you have nothing to back it up with. And not that civilians or lay people can't have an opinion or give an assertion that could be true, but often in this type of environment, especially like when I do an interview with a lead attorney or like somebody who is literally trained in their career field, before I give an assertion or opinion, I ask a question, and I can still echo the sentiments of a given assertion or opinion in the form of question, because my foundation should be humility. So if I just enter the conversation with somebody who is above me in the given hierarchy, especially in their given career field, and I just bounce off an opinion, I think the following. Of course it's unfounded. You watched a couple of videos, sir? You read a book. I see it. Yeah. We're gonna get into the video. Joe Rogan's amazing audience in terms of what he's built over the past decade or so. But yeah, we're gonna get into this video. I'm not sure who he's exactly interviewing. Doesn't really matter, I guess. We're here for the rhetoric. You understand? We're here for the information. So let's get into this video. And let me share my screen for the people to join me in these proceedings. And let go.
These people that live this life do they have something they're working towards? Do they have an idea that they're working towards? I mean, when you press them on it and ask them like, why are you here? Do you ever plan on leaving? Do you ever see yourself going somewhere else?
That's a really good question. I asked them all those questions. So no, they felt like that was their calling.
They're calling.
They were
This is
doing what they
Kramer
were
from
supposed to be
Seinfeld,
doing.
apparently.
And that they were committed to that lifestyle. So no, they weren't. There was no thought of going back. There have been monks that have left the monastery, just wasn't the right lifestyle for them.
Mm-hmm.
But the monks that were there when I was there, 50 years, they were committed and they're not going anywhere.
When you say that's what's confusing to me. Like I understand that they're enjoying it. I understand that they like that life, but that it's a calling, like the calling to do nothing, or just think. Maybe it's just
sacrifice,
mm-hmm.
serve God, live a life of purity. This is not
right. I understand.
I couldn't do it, but
right.
I think that's kind of the mindset around it, and step away from the regular life that they were living. What's interesting is that they weren't born into the monastery.
Right.
A lot of these guys made this decision in their 20s, 30s, so
what were their jobs before they did it?
All over the board, literally. One guy, one of the monks was a lifeguard as a teenager.
We're gonna get to the happiness piece in a minute, but
all over the board.
just let this wash over you like marinara, and
just always felt connected to God. And
let it
connected
marinate.
To this higher living a life, just
let it breathe
under these terms.
Well, what's fascinating to me is that you're saying that they're so happy. Because if you get how many people were in this monastery?
8.
And they're all male?
Yes.
8 men.
Discrimination?
8 random men in their,
Why aren't the women in the monastery?
Guys
35.
35 up to 70s. You get 8 random 35 to 70s and ask how many of them are happy. Actually, truly happy. Maybe 2, right? How many people do you think are happy?
Well, they just did a study. There's a famous Harris study on happiness in this country. I think 67% of people are unhappy.
That is fucked.
Here, I did this, Joe. This is a good test. Maybe you'll want to do this. I did this when I was speaking at an event for 500 Wall Street people.
All right, so he's going to ask a question. Joe doesn't answer the question and it drives me up the wall. People don't answer questions. It's pure deflection. I don't agree with that. Answer the question. It's a direct question. Give a direct answer. 67% of people allegedly are unhappy. It sounds right. How we got that, was a large, enough sample. How do we measure happiness? And of course, he's going to ask Joe, the way they kind of went about gathering this information. Yeah, let's continue to see and play along in the questioning and answering proceedings to see where you measure up. Throw in the chat your number when he asks this question.
Recently, and it was fascinating. I'll take you through it. You can tell me if you're comfortable with it. But if you take all the areas of your life and put them in a blender, okay? So take where you live, your relationships, your finances, your health, everything. Put it in one fucking big blender and blend it up. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with a 10 being the Dalai Lama of happiness, and a 1 being a guy that's at 0 being someone that's at rock bottom, what's your happiness number?
So Joe's not gonna answer the question. I'm gonna answer the question. At least to the best of my ability. Scale to 1 to 10. If I put my entire life into a blender, my health, my finances, my geographic location, my body positivity, my body negativity, hairline satisfaction, beard growth, and proceedings. What else? My proceedings with the opposite sex in terms of sexual congress. The food I have to eat today versus what I want to eat today. Am I happy? How do I measure my happiness from a scale of 1 to 10? I'm also going to add to the question. You can't use 7 because, of course, that's going to be probably the most popular answer in terms of just finding the most objective, like right down the middle answer. So in this scenario on Isaiah channel, can't use 7. So scale of 1 to 10, can't use 7. I'm going to go with I'll go with a 5 currently. My happiness is right at a 5. Now, if any answer were right down the middle, it would probably be a 5. It's average. My happiness is, I'm not really happy. I'm just kind of content right now. And for the first time in a while, I'm actually content with how things are going. The place I live, Florida, Southern Florida at that, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm on a boat once or twice a week, enjoying the beautiful weather. It's never been, well, Sunday at the flea market, it started off around 50 degrees and it quickly warmed up. But outside of that, the average temp probably hasn't dropped below 70 since I've been here, and it probably won't. And again, this is a winter. Your boy got a little tan. You see me. The melanin is flowing properly. I'm content with most things in my life right now. I am still in a growing phase in a lot of different areas. Financially, I could definitely be better. I could have a lot more answers, a lot more stability, a lot more discipline in terms of my spending versus my income. I'm not in a place that I want to be financially. I don't drive a foreign. I don't date a foreign. I'm not dating anyone. For those who are interested and curious, yeah, my life is not on a peak currently. I would say I'm climbing towards the peak, and I have no interest in making it, because once you reach the peak, you realize on top of the mountain, there's nothing up there but air. And it might be a nice view, but you're gonna be by yourself, typically, looking down on everyone else, and it's just air up there. And really, there's not a lot of air up there. Not to get too deep into the actual. Anyway, yeah, I would say a 5. A lot of areas in my life, it's growth. A lot of areas in my life, I'm simply in a place of growth, which means I'm in a place of movement, in a place of trying, in a place of making mistakes that are anti-fragile in nature. Quick note on making mistakes. There's a constant battle, and it drives me up the wall personally to hear people say, yeah, it's one thing to read a book, it's one thing to watch a video, but I'd rather experience and experience my triumphs and my mistakes, what have you. And I agree with that to a point where if the mistake is immediately fatal, how do you benefit from that? If you're going to go discover what it's like to get a DUI and you experience that yourself, what is the point when you could have read a book? The term anti-fragility comes in, where it talks about you want to experience things that if you do make a mistake, it benefits you. It benefits you. There aren't many of those. You can go to the gym and make a mistake and your shoulder comes out of socket. Now, of course, you can put it back in most cases, but if you tear something, you're going to be out for a minute. You're trying to avoid those mistakes, which means you should seek mentorship. You can seek wisdom. Ask a question. Ask for a spot. Ask somebody a question before you proceed. Go watch a YouTube video. Most things have been done already. Unless you're Elon Musk, most things have been done already. By the way, shout out to Elon Musk messing with Twitter. Give me some freedom on that platform, you understand? But yeah, you want to be aware of the difference between just making any mistake. Like, hey, I want to know what it's like to murder someone and go get 20 to life in prison. Why not watch a documentary on that? Why do you need to experience that? Now, of course, a lot of this talk in regards to experiences that benefit you, we're talking about the positive ones. I want to make experiences that are positive in nature. I want to go experience living in a different country and it only go well for me. I get that. That makes perfect sense. But often we forget about the negative experiences that haunt us for a lifetime. Like if you make a mistake in your 20s, and it follows you like a criminal record or like a child. And again, a lot of children nowadays are by definition surprises. Surprise! I don't think many people plan for children unless they're struggling to have children. So beware the difference between just any mistake or a mistake that benefits you or a mistake that can benefit you later on down the road. If you make a mistake in business, but that mistake led to you remembering to pay taxes for the rest of your career, that benefits you, bro. Like, all right, cool. You paid a fine, whatever. But yeah, you don't want to make mistakes that follow you the rest of your life. That's what we're trying to avoid. So yeah, my happiness, I forgot where I went for that tangent. But yeah, happiness, it's somewhat fleeting. It's somewhat ever changing. And so I'm not lost on the fact that happiness can grow. It can, seem so far away in given moments. But my current level of happiness, I would measure around a 5. And I'm grateful in most cases. In most cases, I'm grateful that in the middle of the day on a Monday morning, I'm making a video and I'm not in a uniform. I'm not in a dusty location in the Midwest, in New Mexico. I'm glad I'm in Florida. So I don't have much to complain about, and I'm not looking for much to complain about. I'm over a week without my medication, Zoloft. So there was some turbulence in regards to just weaning myself off of anxiety medication. I'm not going to be on pills the rest of my life, which means at some point you have to stop taking them. And of course, you should be under your doctor's control. I'm not waiting for all that. I'm not waiting for all that. People can quit cigarettes cold turkey. People can quit alcohol cold turkey. And of course, there's 12 steps to everything, and cool. But ultimately, you still got to make a decision. Can I quit this and not go back to it? And luckily for me, there's some friction in regards to getting more of it, getting refills, just because I'm nowhere near my base. So it benefits me that way. But can I quit sugar cold turkey? That's different. Let's continue the video and let's listen to Joe Rogan play mind games, what have you.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm pretty fucking happy.
Well,
I don't know. I wouldn't do it that way. I definitely wouldn't give it a number.
Okay.
Because I feel like that you're making something. You're turning like a constant state of thinking and expression and consideration. You're turning it into a number.
Just
And
answer.
I don't
the
like that idea.
question.
I don't like that idea
Just
because I think it's a management issue.
Answer.
I think a lot
the
of what happiness is a management issue,
question.
and decisions that you're making right now. Like you could be in a shit.
He asked for a
state of
number.
mind right now.
Give him a
But you
number.
can make some decisions to adjust.
Give
that,
the
and over
man a
next couple
number.
Hours, you'll get to a much better place. And these constant management decisions, they waver in and out of your life on a daily basis. Like this idea that you could have a good mindset, and then all of a sudden you'll be happy. That's horseshit. Like
I agree with that.
It's like the tide. It comes in and it comes out. There's going to be days where you're just not feeling so good physically, and that's going to affect the way your happiness level is. It's never static. It's never.
The one thing that's helped me greatly get over this Zoloft, withdrawals and what have you. And again, I was only on 25 milligrams, so it's not like I was taking the whole pharmacy. But there are withdrawals. There are withdrawals from even a low-level dose of anxiety medication. Working out. As you guys know, I'm entering inside of a gym, and of course the workouts are intense. F45, you ever worked out at F45, you would notice they're trying to end your life during the proceedings. They have 45 minutes, and on Saturdays it's an hour. They're trying to end your joints. They're trying to come for you, bro. Workouts are intense. I always feel amazing after I'm done working out. Always feel amazing. Even if I go into that workout with anxiety, I leave there with no anxiety. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, working out, it has amazing effects on the mind. Get out of your mind. If you're an overthinker, if you're somebody who's just constantly worrying about something, you're constantly thinking about who's around the corner, what's going to happen next week, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in the next hour, who's going to get you, who's not going to get you, who's not going to choose you, who's not going to invite you. You're worried about something constantly. You're in your mind too much. You're in your head. Oh, just too much. Get in your body. I'm telling you, it's crazy. It works. Now, I have the luxury of being, a couple miles from the beach, so I can go leave here, which I probably will, and go walk the beach barefoot, grounding and exfoliations, what have you, and just walk next to the sounds of the ocean, listen to my favorite podcast. I have like 400 videos downloaded, so I have to get through those. Not having a road trip as much because I live where I want to live, it kills I have so many videos downloaded I can't get to because my longest drive is like 30 minutes. But yeah, get out of your head, get in your body. You'd be amazed at how everything seems to work better when your body's active, and your mind's gonna be active anyway. Your mind works while you're asleep. Nightmares and struggling to get in a REM cycle. Your mind's gonna work either way, whether you're awake or whether you're asleep. Side note, I posted a picture about I had wires all over my face and all over my body. And a shout out to everybody who checked in with your boy. I posted it vaguely on purpose, whatever. I love insinuating. Anyway, that was a sleep study test for my VA claim that I'm processing currently. Your boy be snoring all over the place, stop breathing while I'm sleeping, dry air and all that. It's a whole thing. But that was a sleep studies test. If you have any questions about that, hit me up on Patreon. We can definitely chit chat. If you have any questions about the military in general, the Air Force in general, you hit me up on Patreon. We can definitely chat about that. If you have questions about the process of joining Air Force proceedings, all that, that's gonna be on Patreon. I'm not answering none of that stuff in my DMs on Snapchat, Instagram, not even on YouTube. All rhetoric concerning the military, the Air Force, it's on Patreon. Or for YouTube members, if you're a YouTube member and you can just send me a screenshot that you're a member, that you have the little logo next to your name, we can chat, whatever you need. So yeah, work out, train. You'd be amazed how it feels amazing. It feels amazing. Let's go back to the video.
Are exactly the same.
True. But if you looked at it overall at 30,000 feet and you had to give yourself a grade, we
happy as fuck is what I would say.
Okay,
I'm
so
pretty
you're
happy.
okay.
Nothing. I'm sorry. I keep touching the video, but nothing boils my blood faster than somebody who won't simply answer a simple and direct question. I can't live with anyone in my house. No one in my house. If I'm paying rent, Brad, and you in my house, wife, girlfriend, I don't care. If I ask you a question, answer it directly. Answer the question. Answer the question. I don't care if it's a lie. Answer the question. It drives me nuts. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where you want to eat? Answer the question. What do you have a taste for? Nothing. That doesn't answer the question. Nothing is not a taste. It's not a taste. How old are you? 20. I'll be 30 next year. How old are you? Which is it's a question of now. How old are you currently? How old are you? How old are you? Don't imply that you're 29. How old are you? I'm 29. Thank you. It's crazy how that is so difficult of a transfer of energy, where the average person can't simply answer a question directly. What is a woman? Well, I'm not about answer the question. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Most people in that room,
Yeah,
raise their. I said, if anyone is 7 and for anyone that listening that wants to do it, raise your hand if you're 7 or below. I don't want to put anyone on the spot. And majority of the room stood up.
right.
Being a 7 and thinking, like 7 is a pretty happy
That's why I take away
number.
7.
But a 7, if my son comes home with a 70 on a test, it's a C-.
Right.
And all I'm saying is, what's interesting about the test, though, if you do actually go through the process, for those that like go through and get a number in their head or whatever, or do want to give themselves a grade,
Right.
your brain automatically goes to a 10 and then subtracts the 2 or 3 things pop in that'll bring your happiness down. It's a great way to identify what's making you unhappy. And that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you started at 10, you're like, oh, fuck, my relationship or this or that. Usually it triggers an automatic, like, this is what's fucked up in my life response.
Right.
And it helps you identify. But it's interesting. We have benchmarks in so many things in our life. You have an IQ test. You have tax brackets to measure your wealth or financial statements. You have IQ tests. Like I said, you can get on a scale to measure your weight. But you're right. Happiness is one of those things. It's like, how do you benchmark it? You know what I mean? It kind of fluctuates, and
it's like hunger. I mean, it's something it goes in and out. It's always there.
But happy as fuck is a good answer.
Yeah, but this is something I've cultivated for a long time and avoided things that make me unhappy and figured out what those things are and been very rigid about eliminating them from my life. And one of the big ones is eliminating interactions with people that are negative. That is gigantic. And because I've realized that I'm not really as independent as I used to like to think I was. I used to like to think that my thought process was independent and that I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. That's nonsense. People say that because they absolutely care what people think and it bothers them. So they say, I don't give a fuck. But that I don't give a fuck stuff is almost entirely nonsense. You do care. And you care in both ways. You care if people are critical of you, care if people are positive of you, but you also care if people are living positive lives and they're motivating you. That's a big one. People are fuel, and other people. It's one of the reasons why I like talking to people. One of the reasons why I like to do podcasts, because I get a lot out of, like just talking to you about your time in the monastery or your push to get to that 100 miles. Like you get energy out of people like that, and you think about this energy and you think about this inspiration when you're doing other things. And it also sets in your mind that when you meet these exceptional people that move you, like what are the characters, what are the qualities that they have, what are the characteristics that they possess, and those things become significant and important to you. Whereas if you live around a bunch of people that are complaining and bitching about everything and they see the negative in everything and they're always whining, those people are the opposite of that. They're the opposite of inspiration, and they're mud. You're just like, what? It's like you're up to your ankles in mud. You try to trudge through life. It's difficult. You're not.
I think it's a good point. Be mindful of the people around you and how they're influencing you. You should be conscious of that, but even more so, I think what's more important than that is being mindful of how you impact other people, and not to a point where it's hurting you and you're full of anxiety like I am, but just being aware that in every engagement, every conversation, there's an exchange of energy. You should be curious about how someone else experiences you. You should ask the question. That's a simple question. How do you experience me versus, how you experience them? Because there's always an exchange of energy. Let's continue.
Not light. It's not pushing you. There's not a wind at your back. The wind's in your face and it's rough, and over time I've learned that these people, you're not going to fix them. I used to want to fix them when I was young. I used to want to go, hey man, I see what you're doing. Like, dude, don't do that anymore. Listen, just do this and stop doing that and start doing this. And if you just work towards this, you could be successful. And then a week later, the guy's doing the same shit. You're like, okay, right. I'm wasting a significant amount of my energy on someone who doesn't want to waste any of their energy on themselves. And so managing the community and the tribe that you're in, making sure that you're a good member of that tribe, that you're doing your part, and there's a lot of cynicism in these days about inspiration and about motivation, because there's a lot of fake shit. You can go on Instagram and you see a million of these inspirational quote pages, and they're run by people that are probably depressed. You see a lot of people that are, talking about how to get ahead in life, but they're not really doing anything themselves. So there's a lot of cynicism involved in that.
Out of all the rhetoric and the information we passed out, I think that's probably the most important part in terms of, in relation to happiness. Probably the greatest impact is the fact that we carry around computers nonstop and we don't put them down. And if we do, we're probably asleep, and we're probably halfway asleep, because if we woke up, we would grab our phone just to make sure we didn't miss anything. And of course, I do this as well. So at no point am I just preaching to the choir, or I am preaching to the choir. Social media, it's going to be a thing for a minute. Probably the rest of our existence. It's not going away. We are obsessed with it. Not only because it's new, but it's because it's embedded in every part of our lives. I shop on my phone. I communicate on my phone almost completely. It's how we go about our day. It's normal. I don't know how to navigate a given city. I type it into my phone. Why would I need to memorize it? Eventually I will, through repetition. Mostly it comes through my phone. Social media is going to be a thing for a minute, and it's going to impact us unless we learn how to put in our lives in certain particular areas and leave it there. If you can't go to bed without holding your phone, you can't go to bed with the TV off, you can't go to bed in a completely dark room. Some of us, we're hurting ourselves. We're hurting ourselves. I've gone through multiple social media fasts where I delete off my phone. I can't engage with this for a week or so, and you'd be amazed how again, you're gonna go back to it at some point. Every diet gets broken at some point. Everyone has a cheat meal, cheat day at some point. But the point is, we're trying to find that balance of, where does social media belong in my life, and I can't negotiate. In most areas, you can negotiate social media. You don't need it constantly. You don't need to stay alive. If there's a hurricane, if the power grid went out, you would still function, just probably not as well. You won't be as entertained or as informed. You would have to pick up a book or a newspaper or something. And even then, if you lost newspapers, you have to talk to people. You have to communicate with the other humans that you pass by, that you see. I'm sure a lot of people were refreshed to be able to take a mask off and just talk to a person normally. Being able to play sports in the gym, being in the gym, and you're able to socialize, ask for a spot, just basic stuff. Social media, at some point, it's going to impact you to a point where it's unhealthy. It came for me multiple times. It still does. Where you think, oh, that's definitely real because they have a fancy car and a fancy house and they're so in love and they have fancy children, and I wish I had what they had. And you're going to lose sleep. You're going to give all this currency to just focusing on someone else's life that is completely edited. It's probably even borderline a lie. The average selfie has so much makeup caked on. You don't know what they look like. You've never seen the real person. Unless you saw them in the shower and you met them before they were able to cake on stuff. You don't know what they look like. It's crazy. Before a date, you don't know what that person looks like. You've probably never seen the real them, and you probably never will unless you get draws. Unless they start sweating. Unless it's water, it's not waterproof makeup or something. We live in a day and age where deception has been normalized. It's normal to be deceived by everyday stuff, by normal stuff. You think people have a certain net worth? Nowhere near it. You watch the average video. I'm going to listen to the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast, and they talk about their net worth. I'm like, apparently I'm worth like 30 million. Where's that money at? So I can access it. It's a lot of deception being thrown around of people you don't know the truth. And so of course it's going to impact you when you think somebody's living this lavish lifestyle. And they're probably not. They're probably not. It's a high probability that what you think is true is not true. And the only way to verify it is to go back into the real world, get into your body, and go experience life. Go live. The city of Dubai, it's a beautiful city, but it doesn't look like the way it's portrayed on Google, Instagram. I'm telling you, it's a dope city, but it's not as impressive in person as it is online. It smells differently than you might think it smells. New York City, the land of adventure, the city never sleeps. Have you walked the streets of New York City? LA is gross. LA is gross. Beverly Hills, pretty nice, but it's small. It's small. But LA is gross. There's songs about LA, like, oh, LA, the city of dream. It's gross. Disgusting. So, yeah, don't be so caught up in what you think is true. Again, your perception is going to lead you to deception more often than not. More often than not, you're going to be deceived by your perception. You think something is true based on how you perceive and interact with the world. And then one day you're going to wake up and realize it's not what I thought it was. That relationship that they had, yeah, just wait for it. Just wait. I love betting on relationships, and it's sad that I do it. But you can just pick any relationship on Instagram or on YouTube, one of these YouTube families or on the public relationships, and just start a stopwatch. These family law attorneys, they have job security. They're not going anywhere. I mean, literally, people are writing books about relationships, and then they're on Shade Room talking about divorce. Did you read your own book? No. Did you read your own book about relationships and how to have a loving relationship? It's crazy. It's crazy. But again, we live in a world of perception. We live in a world of thinking about what we think is true. And it's not true. It's not true. So let's continue.
But there's also sincerity in it. And you can get, if you just look at it with a pure heart and a pure mind, you can get a lot of energy out of that. And when you're around happy, inspirational people that are successful, it makes you feel better and you get inspired. And if you act on that inspiration, your life will be more fulfilled. And it's not just inspirational in terms of financial success, but in terms of doing difficult things, whether it's running 100 miles, it doesn't pay you a goddamn thing other than the wealth of the knowledge that you can push yourself to such an extreme. Or anything else, whether it's someone who becomes really good at playing chess or someone who's really good at martial arts or whatever it is. There's a great feeling in these overcoming these difficult things, because life is never this just constant state of I'm at a 9 all day, and when I'm with my wife I hit 10, yay, and I stay like that. That's not real. What's real is like you saying that you went to this monastery and felt all this angst about meditating and being alone and not having your phone and not having the input, but then when it comes out of it, then you have this reward. So you push through this and you had these uncomfortable feelings, and you came out of those uncomfortable feelings with this newfound appreciation for time and this newfound respect for your own existence in your own space. And
he said something I just want to touch on real quick in relation to motivation. You have all these inspirational and motivational teachers and preachers and speakers. You have to do something with that energy. Motivational speaking is simply the transfer of energy. Someone comes on stage and they measure up, they conjure up all this energy to give to the crowd, and then they do. And so that it may be through the act of yelling or just choosing certain words or the properly placed fuck. simply impacts the audience in a certain way. Gary Vee uses a lot of profanity to get across his point. Eric Thomas, he yells. Yeah. What's his name? Anyway, you can transfer energy by rhetoric, by presentation, by simply just raising your volume up, and it's it's transferring energy. You have to take that energy and apply it immediately, because obviously it's temporary. It's not going to always be on 10 where you walk out of there and the troops and Monday and I hate weekends and I love my life. All that energy is going to dissipate at some point. It's going to dissipate at some point. You can't just go to the gym and work out 10 hours. You're going to run out of energy at some point. You're going to get tired. So you have to apply motivation. When I have a quality collab, or if I go to one of my favorite gyms and I leave there inspired, I have to immediately take that energy and go make a protein shake. That's all I have to overcome. If I get that protein shake, I'm less likely to eat a piece of cake. I have to immediately go apply that energy. That's why I love mornings. That's why I get up so early. I'll be doing live streams at doggone 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and nobody's up. But that's when my energy is freshest. And I'm like, if I'm going to make a video today, if it's going to be a quality video, yes, I have to account for where the audience is and whether or not anyone's showed up. But if my discipline is going to take place today, I have to use it when I have it. I have to use my energy when I have the energy. So if I feel inspired, if I watch a video, I'm like, bro, that's a good message right there. I need to apply that ASAP. You have to take that energy that you just received, whether it be through a screen or in person, and go apply it at once. Shout out to Lead Attorney in chat. When I did a collab with him, right after, he gave me some tips and some advice and guidance on the channel. I'm like, yo, if you're going to be a YouTuber, if you're going to create content, especially as a civilian, you got to stop this civilian stuff, bro. You got to stop this Air Force, this military content. You wore it out. You got 1,000 videos plus on the topic. You're kind of stuck. You're plateaued. You got to talk about something else. I had to immediately take that energy that he gave to me, that inspiration. I'm like, oh, he has a good point. And immediately go do something with it. I haven't made an Air Force video since. I can't. I will not. But that's the point. Is like, once you leave the gym and you had a great workout, you got a pump, you sweat and you feel amazing. You got the endorphins flowing, serotonin's on 10, dopamine, all that. All your hormones are firing. They're on 10. You have to immediately go apply that into something productive. A quality meal, a quality protein shake, But the longer you wait, and especially you see this in like entrepreneurs. Steve Jobs, he's famous for wearing a turtleneck. Even the young lady who got indicted for fraud, Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes, they wear the same clothes every day. The military, we wear the same clothes every day. Why? It takes away one less decision. Like, it's one less thing you have to like spend time trying to match ties with briefcases, with purses, with handkerchiefs, with the lead attorney. He wears the same suit in every video. Why? It's one less decision you got to make. Now, that may not be his reasoning, but you notice there's uniforms in certain career fields for a reason. That's why, like, if you're going to become an attorney, I'm sure they say, hey, you need to fill your closet with what you're going to wear most of the time. Most of my clothes, they look the same. Under Armour. I have one drawer that I know this is my everyday wear drawer, because I don't want to have to use discipline to pick through it. If I want to upgrade my clothing, I upgrade all of it at the same time, all of it. So when I go to my closet, that's all I have to wear. So he has a point that when you're utilizing motivation, it's fleeting. There's a time crunch on that job. There's a shelf life. If you don't use it, it will go away, and then you'll be stuck with what you had before, which was time.
Carving out 3 hours for yourself a day. That's where it all comes from. It all comes from life lessons, and the lessons are learned through struggle. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that think somehow or another you're going to get to some place where you're living in silk sheets and you're getting your toes done while someone's dropping grapes into your mouth. I don't want that. I've never wanted that. That guy's not going to be happy. He's going to be bored. An hour into the grapes, you're going to get those fucking grapes away from me. Stop painting my toes. What am I doing in this bed? I got to do something. I'm not stimulated. The human organism, the animal that we are, needs constant stimulation because it evolved trying to find food and escape enemies, and find shelter, escape nature, escape the elements, try to survive And this is the great joy that you have in taking care of your children, that you can protect your children from the elements and the enemies and feed them. And it's also the great sadness that you see in losers. When I see a loser, I see some guy who's 43 years old, lives in his parents' basement, and he fucking hates the world. I'm like, that was a baby. Man, this is a baby that somebody just gave shitty nutrients to, whether it's nutrients in the forms of food or in the form of thoughts and ideas and examples. And this kid developed these horrible self-defeating patterns of behavior that have led them to this point where they're this.
To build on top of that analogy real quick, nutrients, probably the main ingredient in terms of today's nutrients that we gain or glean from society is truth. It's truth. Jordan Peterson constantly talks about this. I'm like, I have to speak the truth, and I have to account for the consequences when they come, good or bad, but I have to speak the truth. Truth is probably the greatest ingredient, especially when it comes to protection. If somebody's going to protect you, you know, Black women were the least protected. Cool. Who's telling you the truth? Who's telling you the truth? If no one can tell you the truth, you're not going to be protected. What is your response to hearing the truth? Do you immediately, you know, start throwing ad hominem? Do you do sign language? You know, shame, insults need to be right. It is a constant battle with you that if someone tries to tell you the truth, if somebody tries to warn you, yo, the bridge is out, you dusty fool. Are you still going to run off the bridge because they called you a dusty fool? Or are you going to consider the information, the content? Truth is an amazing ingredient, and especially in relation to happiness. What if your pride was the only thing you had to get over in relation to getting that happiness that you say you want, even if it's temporary? Even if it's temporary, what if you're the barrier to your own success, your own happiness? That's often where I find myself. Speaking from experience, and probably today, I'm such in a vulnerable place that if anyone tells me anything, I just listen. Just listen. Just listen. And I may respond in the moment, but I still consider the information. And I may come back later and say, you know, you're right. But even in the moment, if it's a warning, especially if it's a warning, just look at the information. Forget the tone, forget the delivery, forget the person giving the delivery. Consider the information. Truth in today's society, it's been targeted as the enemy. That's why people get canceled and what have you. You know, that's why people are creating platforms like Truth Social to, you know, be able to give their version of the truth. And a lot of it's opinion based. A lot of people are just spewing information as quick as they get it, just to be first. They don't care about what is true or valid or relevant or necessary. They just want to be first. Just first. Let me be first. Will Smith's stuff broke, and I was up at 1:37 a.m. I got to get my video out. I can't be last one to talk about this. So again, preach to the choir. But truth is relevant. And those who mince words, those who have to filter it, those who are afraid to say what a woman is, afraid to define something as simple biology, I mean, it's going to affect everyone. And it won't be positive.
This middle-aged person with no future and no idea of how to get out of this rut, and probably never will escape it, and might just wind up sucking on a gun. You know, I mean, this is the world that we live in today. And I think part of that world is because we have been fed this line of horseshit that you're supposed to seek comfort. And I don't think you are. I think you're supposed to seek lessons, and you're supposed to seek difficult tasks and accomplishments. And through those things, and through doing things that are hard to do, even if it's just a fucking 90-minute hot yoga class. I do a 90-minute yoga class, man. Those last 20 minutes, I do not want to be there, man. And I definitely don't want to give 100%. And I can cheat. I can kind of half-ass it. I can. But if I don't, and I get through it, when that time is up and the lady says namaste and everybody gets up, I'm like, fuck, man, I made it. You know, I lost 15 pounds. My fucking yoga mat is drenched to the point where I could literally wring it out and fill it.
Hot yoga. Don't sleep on it.
With water. But through that struggle, I will now have a better day. And I
realize, again, just so we're clear, he's referring to anti-fragile experiences. The pain of yoga does not hurt you long term. It's a short term, you know, I can't remember the exact term. Hermetic? Anyway, it's a eustress. It's a beneficial stress that benefits you. It does not hurt you long term. It's not the equivalent of, you know, I've made this one mistake and I got to serve 20 years. as a repercussion. No, yoga is a temporary stress that benefits you, you know, in the short-term space and possibly long-term. So you want to seek out anti-fragile experiences that, good or bad, they only benefit you. They don't come back to hurt you later.
Better fucking do it again tomorrow, or do something else. Because if I just think, well, tomorrow I'm just going to coast and eat Twinkies and watch TV. Oh, hello, sadness, my old friend. Hello, depression. Because when you're not doing anything, you feel like shit. And that's just a part of being a human being. And we can pretend that we're something other than what we really are. And we can pretend, nah, me, man, I'm just cool, just chilling, doing nothing. Bullshit. You're
Why do you use a black
human.
voice?
You're a human being. You evolved from the
Why do you use a
fucking
black
hundreds
voice?
of thousands of years of hunters and gatherers and
Should we
people that
cancel
were
Joe for that?
struggling. Those human reward systems are carved deeply into your DNA. And if you don't respect that, if you don't respect the mechanism of happiness and fulfillment and what you really need to do in order to feel satisfied in life, camaraderie, love, family, friendship, struggle, testing yourself, learning, all those things are imperative. They're all a giant part of being a person.
Well said, sir. Well said, sir. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I don't think there's any much else that I have to expand upon after what he just articulated. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Happiness is it's not something that is just laying around in abundance. You have to go, you have to pursue it. You can manifest it temporarily in the form of vices. You should not. You should not. You probably will, just like I will at some point. But understanding that fulfillment is probably a better goal than to be happy. Comfort is not something you should pursue long term. The end result of comfort is complacency, the lack of growth. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. You're gonna realize, you're gonna wake up one day and realize, I've been in this comfort zone for X amount of time and nothing has been accomplished. You're gonna experience inflation. Inflation kills the value of cash. Just printing money. I'm gonna put it in my savings account. I'm gonna put it in my money market account. Is inflation higher than your returns? You're losing money. You lose money. So happiness is just like money, cash. You have to invest it. You have to sow it out. You have to give it out, and with hopes that if I properly invest it, I get a return that's greater than what I once had. So yeah, people holding on to their seeds. I don't want to give up these apple seeds. Plant the damn seeds, bro. Plant the seeds. If you plant them properly in quality soil, and don't get lost in the analogy, one day you'll have more seeds. You have apples and more seeds. So yeah, happiness. A lot of people are unhappy. You see the suicide rates. You see the random suicides of, like, especially when it comes to celebrities. People make a big deal out of the celebrities that die, and it's still unfortunate whether or not you make a lot of money or a little money. It's a human. It's a human. It's a human. So yeah, you're starting to see the effects of it. Mental health, including I'm a poster child for it. I'm like roughly 7-8 days off Zoloft. I'm not going back to it. But you see how even the people that are giving out information, and we're covering videos and no reactions and all that, everyone suffers at some point, and they're gonna have to reevaluate their life and realize, all right, I'm doing something wrong. Something is missing. Anxiety, depression is often a sign that you're doing the job of two people. You're doing the job, you need help. Again, surgeons do not do surgery on themselves. Dentists do not fix their own cavities. That's if they even get any. You can't fix yourself. You need help. And that may just start with having a conversation with somebody you trust. I would even challenge you, have a conversation with somebody you don't trust, somebody you don't know, somebody that can't help you. Just talk to them. Sometimes your healing comes through simply asking questions and listening and realizing, all right, they have it bad. Maybe my life is not that bad. Maybe the fact that I'm making a video in the middle of the day and I have nowhere to be, yeah, that's a luxury. That's a luxury. It's a luxury. So the value of life. Value of life. Death gives life value. Don't forget that. A lot of people get to the end and they realize, I could have taken all these chances, take all these risks. I could have left the environment that I was unhappy in and really just went for what I wanted to do. Seeking value, seeking fulfillment in the moment, not just happiness and fun and pleasure, but true fulfillment. And again, that has to be defined as well, but it's more or less subjective. But it's why I left the Air Force. That's why I'm still in the process of leaving the Air Force. I was not happy. It ran its course. I served as honorably as I could. And then once you realize, all right, this is starting to become diminishing in returns. I'm not getting more than I'm giving. I'm losing. I'm at a deficit. Every single month I'm in the Air Force. I'm operating at a deficit. I'm losing. I'm losing. My mental health has left me. Why am I still in this environment? Time to go. Time to go. So yeah, daily evaluate the results of your efforts. Daily evaluate the results of your efforts. If you're doing something, ask yourself, what is my return on investment for this? I asked the question on Twitter and various other platforms. Did their life improve by leaving or staying with you? In relation to relationships, what is your return on investment? I'm not saying that it should be a monetary return on investment, but what do you get back for all this energy that you give to the relationship? Why am I still doing this if everything I get back is seemingly and subjectively negative? I don't enjoy nothing. I don't enjoy this. I hate this. I hate where I live. I hate doing what I do. Why are you still doing it? And of course, the long list of, well, I don't got enough money. I don't have enough time. My boy down here, he just taught me how to flip stuff. And Gary Vee's been talking about this for years. I just never tried it. He will take me to Goodwill and we'll look around and scan things on eBay and just walk around and that looks like it might be worth something. Scan it on eBay, filter it by sold items only. And you can see what this item that's at the Goodwill for a couple bucks is selling on eBay for. And what it recently sold for. And you're like, all right, so this, this diamond ring is selling for $2. It have to be, appraised and what have you, but it's just sold for $2 million on eBay. Being hyperbolic, obviously, but I have items selling nonstop. I go to the flea market every weekend, making bank, making crazy money just to sit around and do nothing. And often the gap between where you are currently and your happiness is information. It's simply new information that you're missing. And it may be pride that's keeping you from that new information because you won't ask a question. You won't seek mentorship. You won't let somebody who's slightly ahead of you tell you anything. And this is why a lot of the Black community, we're so far behind, is because we won't ask a question. We think, oh, well, I'll just follow the celebrities ahead of me. I'll follow the hip hop rappers, the athletes, the greatest of our community and see what they're doing. Name a Black billionaire other than Oprah. Some people have never heard of the name Robert Smith. People are going to immediately, oh, there's Oprah, there's Rihanna, there's Kanye, there's Jay-Z. Name 5 more. Name 5 more. Because our community praises entertainment. We got it on lock. We got entertainment. We got athleticism. We got it. We got it on lock. But what about in the financial sector? What's an IRA? What's the difference between Roth and traditional? Again, the Black community, we're so far behind because of what we have prioritized, especially in our daily lives. And is why you see the result of our community. It's behind everyone else, including our happiness. It's behind everyone else. What makes you think that not having a family would make you happier? Especially if you're creating a family, if you're creating other humans, and yet you don't have a foundation built, what makes you think that will make you happy? Where's the results? Look at the results. They're everywhere. You're not the first person to have children just all over the place, and yet you're raising them by yourself. Oh, you're trying to provide for them by yourself. You're trying to feed them you're trying to guide and teach them by yourself. It doesn't work. Not historically, not in the present, not in the future. It does not work. It's not supposed to. Your happiness is at a deficit because you're missing information, because you haven't acted on the information you received. I made a video, I believe it was a New Year's resolution, probably a couple years back, of what if I applied all the knowledge I have currently? What if all the information I've ever known, all the research I've done, all the mentorship I've received, what if I applied all of it just in this one single year? Reduce it down to a day, to an hour, to a moment. What if I applied everything I know? How would my life look? I'll be in much better shape. I have a lot more money, a lot more subscribers, a lot more views. I will live in everything will change. Cognitive dissonance is not applying what you know to be true. It's doing anything different than what you know to be true. You know the truth, and yet you do differently. I know I should not be eating this, and yet I'm going to eat it anyway. That's cognitive dissonance. The average millennial, the average American, the average person watching this, the average person is consumed by cognitive dissonance, including myself. And again, you got to be self-aware. You also have to be present enough to realize when you're doing it in the single moment. Yeah, this is not the truth of what I should be doing. So I'll end it there. Shout out to everybody that joined the video, join the chat. Appreciate the support. Patreon.com/Raymond Isaiah if you want to support the channel. $5 a month. Appreciate you. But yeah, I will see y'all next video. Say what's good to your boy.